Welcome into the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles, thank you for making us a part of your weekend, kicking things off. Things are picking up, finally.
Absolutely. This week was fantastic in the sense that you have now Utah starting up their fall camp on Monday. You have, of course, Utah State, who started things up on Tuesday, and BYU, who started things up on Wednesday. So now all the three college football teams in the state of Utah are beginning their fall camps. It is football season. It is among us, and I'm so excited.
Well, and it's nice to actually have something to talk about. You know, the previous 2 weeks were just so dry. It was a desert. There was all this kind of just speculation and looking forward, and then LeBron signed with Philly, and that was the big news dump. And then outside of that, it's just been just nothing. Like,
yes,
can this get here already? Looking forward to this week, and now it's finally here.
Exactly.
So, fun week, though. And it's football season, and that's great. You know, I'm already seeing on social media people are complaining about, oh, my cousin has a wedding on, week 2 of college football. Do I go to the wedding or not? And it's
the yearly battle.
He made his decision.
Exactly.
Now you make yours. You know what to do.
The yearly battle.
I have a wedding I'm going to in a few weeks, but it's the week right before college football starts.
Oh, okay.
So I saw that, I got the invitation. I was like, oh no, that's going to be cutting it close. And then I looked up the schedule and I was like, okay, that's week 0. I think I can.
You have some leeway there.
I can swing that.
Yeah, you have some leeway there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's wedding season. It's college football season, and then of course the Jazz are going to get going here in a few months as well. But football right around the corner. It really is the best time of the year, man. And especially, we kind of have brought this up before, but one of the things that's going to be so much fun with this season, as it was last year, BYU and Utah are going to be really good. You're looking at two teams that definitely have the talent. They have what it takes to potentially be in the Big 12 championship. They should be right around 10 wins each, right? So it's going to be another fun year. Last year was awesome. A lot of fun storylines. So we'll jump right into it today. And the structure of the show today, we're kind of going to do a BYU hour first and then a Utah hour second. Got a lot of good sound this week. We're going to hear from coaches and players. So let's go ahead and start with BYU. I want to start with Kalani Sitake. His media availability, as always, was great. He mentions a lot of great things. He brings up, of course, the big one, probably the biggest storyline of the season for the Cougs is how does K-Pop, Kelly Papinga, take over that defense as Jay Hill is now in Michigan, and what's that going to look like? So without further ado, here is Kalani Sitake on opening day of BYU camp.
Accomplished today in day one, Kalani?
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. Obviously, I'm really excited for day one. We definitely have a faster team, so I like the team speed and then the connection. It's just good. You can see the continuity that we had from last year. It's rolling over. So the momentum on all 3 phases, even with some new guys there like Justin Enna with the special teams, just really happy what he's done, from January to now. And then K-Pop's done a great job with the defense. And so the transition's been really, really good going into fall camp. And I think, looking at what A-Rod's done with the offense and having Tyler there with him at the quarterbacks, it's been really nice. And it's good to have some healthy guys back to go.
Talking about continuity, how much further ahead, I guess, overall do you feel like your team is?
Yeah, we're way further ahead than we were last year, and so that's a good sign. And even with the new guys that have come in, they just, you can't even tell that they're new anymore. In spring you can see getting used to different terminology. With guys like Cade, and it's hadn't been a problem. Those guys are, you can tell that the guys worked really hard in the off season. They worked really hard in the summer, and it's paid off a lot. And so practice one. You got to stay humble and stay hungry and just keep working hard. But we're going to utilize all the time that we have from now until game 1. And with practice 1 out of the way, I can't wait to watch the film. I'm really excited about what we did today.
Where's the most heated competition in camp?
Most heated competition? They're all heated in this heat right now. But it's we encourage everybody to compete for a spot and for playing time. And we feel like we need more than 11 starters on all 3 phases, and we feel good about our depth. And so we're just keep improving the depth. And these guys are fighting for reps and fighting for playing time, and that's we only play the best. That's what we do.
What's the potential for this offense with both LJ and Byrd back?
Yeah, I mean, we're focused on winning games. Not really. That's the most important stat. So we'll do whatever it takes for all three phases to complement each other and put ourselves in position to get the victory. That's what we're focused on the most, and I think the stats will work out the way it's supposed to. But I like the versatility that we have in all three phases as well, and so this should be a lot of fun this year.
Byrd barely arrived this time last year going through training camp. How much different does he look this time going
Yeah,
on?
it's what you would imagine. I mean, he's a veteran now, and he knows what he's doing. He's making corrections out there, and it's nice to see a guy that's been here, and have put in a lot of time, and so he's had a busy off-season, busy summer, and I'm just really proud of how he utilized all the time.
What's the level of confidence and comfort level like for him?
Yeah, I trust him, and I trust him and all the quarterbacks in that group because I trust who's coaching them, and we know that we don't have to rely on them to win games for us. They're capable of doing that. We can rely on all the positions.
Kalani, you're a veteran head coach. This is another year. What's your favorite part of being a head coach?
Yeah, this is my 11th year, so I don't know. That's veteran, or veteran mean old. Yeah, I feel old. I've aged quite a bit, but I'm loving it. That's just I feel really blessed and fortunate to be doing this, and so every day that I get to live this life, it's been a dream for me, and so I'm gonna do everything I can to help these young men and do what I can to represent for Cougar Nation, because I am a fan first when it all comes down to it.
I don't see Andrew Williams on the roster. Any update on him?
Andrew Williams has selected to go on a mission, and he just turned his papers in on Sunday. Really proud of him. He and I talked weeks ago, and it's been on his mind for a while, and I don't think he thought about serving the mission before, and now that he just asked if this is the right time. And the first thing is he didn't want to let the team down because he's a guy that can compete for playing time. But he was able to share his thoughts and bear his testimony on the gospel to me, and it seemed like the best field he should be on is the mission field. And Coach Woods and everybody was really happy, excited for him, and we're just really proud of him. And so he had to defer his enrollment, and get his call soon, and we'll see where he's going to go. But Andrew will be elder for the next 2 years, and we're really proud of his decision to serve.
Staying with the roster personnel, is this the roster you're going to carry into the season? Because I know you were talking about kind of working parts.
There's still some moving parts on it. I think the closer we get to game one, when school starts, that's when it's got to be set. But there's still some guys that we still add to it.
With the injunction that's out there, have you given any thought to potentially adding guys that could come back?
That's been some thought, but we're really limited on the roster spots that we have. I think we have our guys that are set and that we've promised roster spots to, and so we're really just go on that first, and then there's just a weird timing for all that to happen, but we looked into it and saw the options and possibilities, but we have a responsibility to the people that are on the roster currently right now first.
Do you have any roster spots available on the 105? Because I know there's the DSA part, but
that's the one that's really difficult on the 105. Not a lot of flexibility right now, even with some of the openings that we had. We've already, you guys know, it's not like you're down a spot and then there's not anyone there. There's always a waiting list, and then there's kind of a wish list for every position coach, and so I have to listen to everybody and coordinators, and everyone should make their pitch and on who should be the next up, and that's the fun part about it, and so we'll just see what the team requires, and we don't have to make that decision just yet either, and we have to see how it's going to look with our depth and how things are looking, even scout team wise, what's going to be the best feel for our team and where we need the most help.
This is Coach Bahinga's first year as a defensive coordinator. What is it about him that gives you confidence and trust that he's really going to be a good DC?
I know K-Pop had what it took from the very beginning when I first had him on staff, and I always had a good feeling about him and his reputation from players that have played for him and guys that played for me in the NFL. Had nothing but great things to say about him, and then I watched him carefully throughout his career. And when there's an opportunity to bring him on, I'm glad that he's here. I can tell you one thing about K-Pop. He's probably the hardest working coordinator I've ever been around. And you work that hard, only good things can happen, and just really pleased with everything. I'm just have to keep reminding him doesn't have to do so much, but it's nice to have to tell somebody to ease up a little bit, but he's intense, he wants it, and I think with that type of work ethic, you can't go wrong.
Zay said he was pretty hands-on, much like Jay Hill was. Is that?
Yeah, that's. I think most of the coaches all of the coaches on the staff are going to be guys that I like, that I feel is going to be able to connect to the players, and I want this to be a player-run program, but at the same time, I want the mentors to be helping the players and being there along the way, and so. With the coaches that we have on our staff, they got to be hands-on.
What stood out from the wide receivers today in the first day of practice from your vantage point?
Yeah, the young guys are really good. The returning guys are really good too, and the timing with veteran quarterbacks that we have with Bourget and with Bear has been nice. And then seeing other guys like Enoch come along and throw. And these guys utilize their time on their play run practices and their individual time this summer really, really well, and hanging out together and running routes, and it showed today.
Kalani, during your tenure, there's been a lot of things in college football that have changed pretty dramatically. How do you navigate all of those changes while still being the head coach when things change, whether it's from year to year, sometimes even month to month? How much of an added layer does that add to just being a coach these days?
I think you just got to adapt, and probably the moment that I'm not willing to do that is when I'm probably need to hang it up. You know what I mean? So, listen, whatever happens, rules or things that you're allowed to do, we're going to always try to see if they're aligned with what we are as a university, which is aligned with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and how can we benefit from this, and how can we get these young men on our team to be the best version of themselves. If we can do that off the field in the classroom, then it should transfer over to the field. But we're still trying to figure all that stuff out, and I feel like we have a good mindset because we're focused on the right thing first. And these guys, I enjoy coaching these young men because they're the best in college football. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see what they can do and the sacrifices that they've made in the off season, and for them to reap the rewards when it comes this fall.
Kalani, how are you approaching a camp with so many returning faces to get them ready for the battles of the season? Like, how are you handling those veterans? Are you creating opportunities for younger guys? Like, how are you approaching this camp, maybe strategically from that standpoint?
Everything's got to be. I think there's not a cookie cutter system anymore. It's not like even with the lifting and all that stuff. Everything has to be a little bit more specialized, and so we have a plan for the veterans that have kind of proven themselves, and what do they need to see, and how can we keep them fresh, but also keep them coming along and progressing. So everybody has a range of development, and so the veterans have development, but it's a different development than the young freshmen coming in. So we have to adjust and specialize all our training, our meetings, how we do things, and what we do on the football field. And so the coaches, sports science, our trainers, our support staff, everybody involved has been really crucial to making this work, and it takes everybody getting that done. I'm just the one that gets to talk to you guys, but everybody else is doing all the work, and I've been really pleased with the entire staff and everybody that's in this building.
So to follow up on that, are you breaking out like newcomers in meetings? Like so when they're done with practice, like how can you take us into that?
We're doing a lot of different things. Otherwise, if you teach the same stuff, the guys that have already been there already know it. It falls on deaf ears. They already know. So the action is to try to get them to do the teaching, get them to be involved in it. So flipping the classroom, things like that. It's looking at a growth mindset and trying to change the classroom and how we learn. So that's the main way with the young guys, and then giving them reps. And so you have to combine that with opportunities to be on the field. And so we've been able to do that. And, I thought we did a great job at it with what we did for Bear last year. So Bear still needs to develop. It's just at a different level. And then now we can complement that with everything that's going on around him.
During the media days in Texas, a lot of the coaches had very positive things to say about you, your personality, your character, and how you coach. They also do have a group chat with them. How do you maintain a relationship with those coaches and continue that throughout the season?
Well, I think you give me too much credit on that. We have amazing coaches in this conference. I've been welcomed to them. When first time we had our meetings, all the coaches that were there were super warm, just kind, and the leadership in the Big 12 has been amazing. So for me to just be in there, it was a really cool environment for me to be in. And so it's like it's not anything that I've done. I'm joining a good group of men, of leaders that have done a great job, and it's pretty cool because we actually get to share thoughts and notes and talk a lot about there's only so many guys that know exactly what we're going through, so it's a really cool fraternity to be involved with and be able to be it's weird we have to compete and we have to play against each other, but it's kind of nice to have that friendship, and it's made things a lot more enjoyable being in this conference.
There you go. Kalani Sitake, head coach of the BYU Cougars. Any big takeaways there?
I always love listening to Kalani Sitake and the way that he talks about his team and the way that he talks about his players. One of the things that Tim brought up earlier this week that really stuck with me and that I now bring up here is the fact that Kalani is the type. He's so altruistic in the way that he always pumps up the guys around him rather than the work himself that he's doing. He's always quick to turn the praise to the players actually doing the work, to the players actually going in, and making BYU be as successful as they have been the last couple of seasons. And he'll never really put himself in the position where he'll take the credit for it. But I think Kalani deserves a lot of credit for the development of a lot of players on this team. The thing for me for BYU this season is the fact that they returned so much talent, and obviously Kalani Sitake and the staff has a big hand in all that. And so he'll never stand in front of the media and take that credit for himself, but he does deserve, ultimately, him and his staff ultimately deserve a lot of credit for developing guys like Isaiah Glasker, for developing guys like Byrd, for developing guys, the list can go on. There's just so much elite talent that's returning for this BYU team, and that's where the coaching staff, deserves massive credit.
And there were some big losses, after last season. You lose a lot of talent like Jack Kelly, Chase Roberts specifically, Tanner Wall, another big contributor. Parker Kingston is not on the roster. Carson Ryan. So you lose some key pieces, but at the end of the day, you look at what this roster is returning. You got studs everywhere. Glasker is awesome. Faletau Satuala, you and I both really, really like him. Keanu Tanavasa on the interior, Kirkland as well. So. And then, of course, offensively, you've got the reigning Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year in LJ Martin. You've got your quarterback, Byrd, 6'5", 240-pound monster that is coming back as a sophomore. So there honestly have been a lot of questions. Is this the most talented roster that BYU has had under Kalani Sitake? And I think that's an interesting conversation because you look at what happened last year with BYU and where they finished, and ultimately they made the Big 12 championship. They were not able to win it. So I guess where I want to go with this, Alex, the big question right now, is it kind of championship or bust for Kalani Sitake and the Cougars? Because there are so many things that go into that outside of just all the returning talent. But then you look at the storyline with Kalani almost taking the Penn State job.
Right.
And last second deciding to ultimately return to BYU. And you don't do that for nothing, right? You don't turn down a top probably 10 job in the country to come back to BYU if you don't think that this roster has what it takes.
Yes.
If you don't think you're close.
It's a storyline that I think people are, they're not talking about anymore, but I think it's a storyline that's going to continue to be relevant as the season goes on. Because if BYU is in a position where, obviously there's still a lot of football to be played and a lot of things that are going to happen this football season. But if Kalani Sitake and this coaching staff have another similar season to the one that you saw last season, maybe even get to the point where they're winning a Big 12 championship and they're making it into the college football playoff, there's going to be jobs that are going to open up again this offseason, Christian.
Yep.
And I'm assuming his name is going to be in that, in those conversations again, depending on what jobs will open, depend on how the season goes for BYU. As far as the most talented roster conversation goes under Kalani Sitake, I think I would have to say yes. You have probably the most experience you've had on the offensive line. It feels like you probably have had Obviously, massive that LJ Martin is coming back, and he's probably a big catalyst as to why BYU is held in such high conversations about what their ceiling is and what they can accomplish this season. You still have a sophomore quarterback that I think has levels to his game to be unlocked as he continues to grow, as he continues to gain experience and develop as well. And you have an elite talent all across the defense coming back this season. So I think this is probably the most talented roster under the Kalani Sitake era, which of course brings that expectation of the championship or bust. You made it into you made it into the Big 12 championship last season. Now, how do you take that next step to potentially go on and win the conference championship, to win the Big 12? And then, of course, that would secure your ticket to a college football playoff appearance.
So I guess, in other words, would it be a disappointment if they don't even make the title game, the Big 12 title game?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think so. That's the bar that has been set for the Cougs because of Kalani, because of the experience on the roster, because of all of that.
You have to get back to where you were last season.
Back-to-back double-digit win seasons. If you don't even make it to where you were last year, that's the disappointment.
Yes.
So this BYU team has to make the Big 12 title game.
I would say yes. I think that's the minimum for a successful season for BYU, considering where you were last season, right? With how much you're returning, with the roster you have, with the coaching staff, right, that you were able to retain with Kalani coming back, it would be a step back to not make that college football not make the Big 12 championship.
And hopefully that turns into a college football playoff appearance.
Absolutely.
You know, the elusive thing that BYU has really been right on the doorstep of back-to-back years. Really, I mean, Cougar fans could feel like they've been screwed the past 2 years because of the circumstances in which they were left off. But I'm right there with you. I mean, that is the bar, that is the expectation. And frankly, I really do we can run through the schedule a little bit. They've got, I think, a better schedule than they did last year. You look at 3 pivotal games, I think, that are going to decide this season for the Cougs. Obviously, game number 2 at home against Arizona. You love to have them at home. I think it's honestly an advantage to have them early on in the season. It's kind of a, wake up and get ready game. Like, make sure that you are flying. You've got the pancake game against Utah Tech before that. But week 2, that's your first big test, and it's at home. But Arizona is a really good team. A lot of people have them as kind of dark horses in the Big 12. So I like that they have them early. I like that they have them at home.
Yes. Noah Fate and Arizona, too, are one of those teams in that conversation of teams who could potentially make it to Arlington and compete for a Big 12 championship. And so I think getting that out of the gate, it'll be a good test for BYU. And, with it being week 2, you hope that the squad and you hope that the team is relatively healthy as far as both sides go. So because you want the best going up against the best. Again, a team in Arizona who I think this season have something to prove, right? How do you build off the success of last season? And how do you send off Noah Fafita, right? This is the last year of eligibility. How do you make sure to send him off with a bang? And this is a fantastic test for both teams to start off this season.
But in terms of BYU, it's good to have them early, especially when it's at home, because you don't want, a good conference opponent late in the season where it's like, okay, we've got to beat them.
Right.
At the, week 10, 11, 12 for us to reach our goals. We need to win that game. That's kind of a game where you'd hope BYU can win that at home. But if they lose that one, you've still got 10 games after that.
There's still room. Absolutely. It's early. There's still room for improvement. There's still room to make up some ground. I think whoever wins this game, since it is week 2 and since it's one of the early conference games across the Big 12, whoever wins this game really has that early lead to dictate who's going to make it to Arlington. Absolutely.
Of course, another swing game, Notre Dame at home. Everybody's looking forward to that game. That is going to be awesome. October 17th, the Fighting Irish coming into Provo. Time is not announced yet, but we're hoping that's going to be a night game. Perfect, 6:30 kickoff, right?
Vampire Cougs, man.
Dude, I can't wait for that.
Vampire Cougs.
Although it is a non-conference game, I think that's going to nationally kind of get a sense of where BYU truly does rank.
Yes.
This is a Notre Dame team that has been in national conversations under Freeman, their head coach, right? They are. Everybody knows how good they are. This is a matter of how good actually are the BYU Cougars, because when you look at the national test that the Big 12 has had over the last few years with Arizona State in the college football playoff, with Texas Tech in the college football playoff, the Big 12 has disappointed. So you look at this game as an opportunity for BYU to represent themselves and the conference against a team that is probably going to be in the playoff at the end of the year. I mean, the new rules basically ensure that they will be. Mm-hmm. So this is a playoff test for BYU. And
absolutely.
It doesn't ultimately really affect their chances at the Big 12 championship, right? But, if BYU wins that game, it's going to be hard to leave them out of the college football playoff at the end of the year.
100%. And there is a real possibility that if things go the way BYU wants them to go, there is a possibility that both these teams are heading into LaVell Edwards Stadium on Saturday, October 17th, undefeated, top, whatever ranked teams. And it could really define, as you mentioned, the Big 12 and the way that the committee views the conference, as well as, of course, Notre Dame and their chances to go on and win a national championship. I've seen a lot of people in the early goings of the preseason predictions and the preseason stuff. A lot of national guys have already, tabbed Notre Dame as their national championship winner. They are the team to beat.
It's a little rich for me. But they've got a good quarterback.
They do have,
and they've got a good head coach.
Absolutely. And a really solid defense. And if BYU can, obviously go into LaVell Edwards, win that game, it's a statement, I think, for all of college football. But you also can't, you also can't overlook, obviously, that Arizona game that comes week 2. And I think you can't look that road test at TCU either. We'll see where TCU really lands. But heading on to M&G Carter Stadium, heading on the road for that Big 12 matchup, that I think will also be a good test and could be a sneaky test depending on where TCU lands. But those are two games that you can't overlook, knowing what's to come on October 17th when you'll take on Notre Dame.
And, of course, the third swing game that's going to really determine BYU's season is November 7th at Utah. That's especially now that they're conference opponents, that game is always going to have huge implications down the stretch, and especially when Utah's a good team. Even 2 years ago when Utah wasn't good, it was still a really close game. It took a game-winning drive by the Cougs to win that game. And then, of course, last season, the infamous play, Bear Bachmeier carrying 6 dudes into the end zone. There's always fireworks in that game, and we'll spend some time talking about Utah coming up at 11:05, but both of these teams have a really good chance at playing for the conference title game. So if the Cougs can take this one in the regular season at Utah, then, of course, that's going to do good for them, and honestly, you'd love to hurt your rival's chances at making the title game. So really, though, I think it's beneficial for the Cougs that you look at their road schedule. They only have 2 tough road games, and that's at Utah and at TCU.
And even then, one of them, it's a road game, but you drive up, what?
2 years ago,
you drive
that
up 30
stadium
minutes.
was half blue, right?
So, and that too. BYU fans show up to Rice Eccles.
Right. So, I like BYU's schedule. I think it really does break in their favor. They get all of their toughest tests at home, outside of that Utah game. So I'm excited. November 7th, going to be crazy.
Can they make it 4 in a row? That's the big question. How does Morton Scalley obviously approach that game with it being his first rivalry game as a head coach? So a lot of eyes will be on November 7th, and I think even more so nationally, eyes will be on that October 17th game. BYU's got a chance here for some special.
Again, we will talk Utah coming up 11:05. Coming up next, we're going to hear from some more Cougar sound from the week. Isaiah Glasker and LJ Martin, kind of the leader of the defense, leader of the offense, coming out and speaking on day one after practice. So we're going to hear what they had to say. A lot of good tidbits in there. Stick with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.
Before ink met page, superheroes rose from American ideals. Now, these virtues take on powerful new forms in the U.S. Mint's Comic Art Coin and Medal program, featuring all new original designs of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, captured in 24-karat gold and fine silver. It's where American history and heroism unite in striking detail. Order exclusive DC superhero coins and medals today. Visit usmint.gov/DC.
Looking to refresh your denim lineup without breaking the bank? That's where Old Navy comes in. Their denim collection has styles for everyone, with great quality starting at just $22. The Arc jean features a modern silhouette with a relaxed attitude. The extra high-rise wide leg defines the waist, visually elongates the legs, and creates an effortlessly chic look. Shop Old Navy jeans now at OldNavy.com or visit your nearest Old Navy store.
As a small business owner, sometimes it feels like no matter how much planning you do, there's always surprises, like an urgent, expensive repair. But here's a surprise you'll like. With Progressive, small business owners save 10% or more on their commercial auto insurance when they pay in full. So enjoy a surprise for once. Get a quote in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Welcome back into the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles, finally celebrating that fall camps are underway. BYU,
football's here, man.
Utah State, football is here. Last segment, we let you hear from Kalani Sitake, head coach of the Cougs. We went through kind of their schedule and some games that are really going to impact the way the season goes, but you and I are on the same page as far as championship or bust for this squad. I mean, this is the season. This is the most expectations I think that have been placed on a BYU team since I've been working here, and it's only been a few years, right? But you look at the growth that they have made in the Big 12 Conference, and they have quickly risen to the top. You know, they made the Big 12 championship game last year. This year, that's the expectation.
As it should be. Again, with everything that you're returning, with everybody, with all the elite talent that you have, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I'm a big believer in defense with champions, man. And I know you lose Jay Hill, but, bringing back key contributors, elite contributors like Keanu Tanavas on the defensive line, like Isaiah Glasker. You bring in probably one of the more underrated linebacker transfers in Kedu Oluwave, something that I think people aren't talking about enough, somebody who I don't think people are talking about enough, and something that kind of flew under the radar as far as the national look goes. Obviously here locally, everybody knows and everybody's excited for Cade, but there is just elite talent all over that defense. Now it's just up to Kelly Papinga to put his stamp on that defense and get the Cougars ready.
Speaking of defense, let's hear from linebacker Isaiah Glasker first. He talks about playing for the new guy, Kelly Papinga. Here's Glasker.
How was the first day?
I think the team's looking good so far. I know our defense stacks, so it's going to be fun getting back out here and playing with these guys. What's it like having Kelly Papinga as the defensive coordinator? I definitely say he's an intense guy, but it's I feel like you learn something new every day from him, and I feel like especially being as a linebacker, it's like he was a linebacker, and I'm just excited for the season to come. So
Jay Hill was pretty hands-on. How was he in relation to how Jay was?
I love Jay Hill. He was a great coach. He was, like you said, super hands-on. I feel like with Jay Hill, he was more of like a safeties type of guy. He was hands-on with the safeties, and then you get Kelly Papinga, like I said, a linebacker guy. So it's, you learn a lot from him. So,
what do you say about the team's mentality coming into camp?
I feel like really just the same thing. We take it day by day, and then when the season comes, it's gonna be game after game. So, really just trying to get our things together and dominate this season. So,
what are your expectations?
Right now, it's just win our first game. That's all I can really say.
Does it feel weird to be back out here? 'Cause I know last year you were planning on being maybe in the NFL this time last year.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, for sure. But I'm excited to be able to run it back and hopefully go get that national championship. So.
Yeah, your cousin's on this team. Have you had a chance to go up against him yet?
Shoot, I'm just waiting to get those pads on and give him that welcome to college football moment.
Where do you feel like the defense's biggest strength is this year?
I feel like there's not really one specific. You got guys up front with Keanu, and then you got guys the back end solid, Falatau, Satwala, Raider. Like really all those guys can play, and then just our linebackers. It's really any guy can go in and make a play at any time. So really, just I feel like everyone has it. So
will that front be able to put pressure on quarterbacks without your help?
Shoot, I feel like they can do it themselves, really. If anything, they're going to open it up for me, so I'm excited.
You seem like it seems like the defense has a lot of ball hawks returning this year. What does that mean for your ability as a team to create turnovers? Because I know that's kind of been the calling card the last couple of seasons, and you guys have been right there at the top of the Big 12 in terms of getting those takeaways.
I would say really it's nice just because, especially as a linebacker coming off the edge, it's always nice when the quarterback drops back there and he's just putting the ball. So I don't know, a little bit easier to get sacks, and I feel like we got those guys like Trey Alexander, Evan Johnson, these guys who can just lock down. So I'm excited.
How good can Justin Kirkland be?
I've never seen a dude like that before. Him and Keanu together, you're in for a long movie.
Being such a leader on this team, just what can you say? What do you think the identity of this group in 2026 will be?
I would say really just to make plays, and I feel like we're the hard-working team, and I know I've seen over the offseason, dudes are taking that extra step, so hopefully we can just show it on the field this season. So.
There you go. That is BYU linebacker Isaiah Glasker talking about he had the opportunity to go to the NFL, go pro, and he decided to run it back at BYU. And I think that's going to end up being a really good decision for him. I think that's going to improve his draft stock. Not only that, but he has a chance to do something really special here with BYU as far as pushing for a Big 12 championship. I'm excited to see what Glasker brings because he was a dog last year.
100%. And, he was dealing with some injuries, some bumps and bruises throughout the course of the season last year. And so maybe necessarily didn't have the season that I think he anticipated. I don't think, he had the season that a lot of BYU fans anticipated. So hopefully this year he's relatively healthier, and he's able to go out there, man, and go out there and show to the NFL scouts and show to the everybody watching him to potentially move on to the next level that he can be that guy, and comes back and helps BYU to get to where they want to go.
Let's switch gears, talk some offense. The big question there is obviously the wide receiver room because Chase Roberts graduated. Parker Kingston no longer on the team. You brought up Carson Ryan earlier. Didn't have, a consistent impact, but there were games where he made huge plays, and everybody knows he was important to the team. So those are their top three targets, all gone. And you look at JoJo Phillips, he's returning. Bit of a disappointment when he came back last year from injury. But LJ Martin, we're going to listen to what he had to say earlier. He brings up he's not really worried about the pass game. He thinks they can be special. So here's BYU running back, reigning Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, LJ Martin.
So you led the Big 12 in rushing last year. What do you do for an encore this year?
We're not really worried about stats or anything. We're just really worried about wins. And every time I'm trying to touch the ball, the goal is a touchdown. So, if I'm doing my part, we should win. And, I'll have whatever I need.
What was accomplished today in day one?
Yeah, a lot was accomplished, just going out there, just getting back familiar with the playbook and just competing again. So it was good for us just to come out here and get to competing again.
How much of a workload is maybe the first team offense, taking on in camp? Because with so much experience, are you guys just kind of pacing yourselves for the battles of the season, or are you guys kind of in the thick of it already?
No, I would say we're in the thick of it already. Yeah, we want to do a lot. We're trying to get ready, but also there is that happy medium of getting ready to have a long season. So I would say we're trying to do as much as we can while also being smart.
LJ, what were your impressions of the new running back? I think his name's Journey Tonga. Mm-hmm. Was he out here today, and what were your impressions of him?
Yeah, Journey was out here. He did well. He's a young guy. He knows the playbook pretty well already for someone his age, so I'm really impressed. And, I think he'd be really good.
Sione Moa back to his usual self in the backfield?
No, saw Sione today. He looked good. He was doing great in spring as well. So, he just picked up where he left off in spring, so I'm really excited for him.
So we haven't seen you on the field since the game before the bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel coming back out here for the first time in whatever it's been?
I felt great, just a little bit of rust to be shaken off, just have had actually people in front of me whenever I'm running the ball or, just going through things. So now having someone in front of me, going against one of the guys one-on-one, it's been fun and, it was fun.
When did you get fully cleared?
Yeah, I've been cleared since about early June. So, a couple months now.
Do you anticipate a lighter than normal workload, just considering what you've accomplished already in your career?
I don't know. It's whatever Coach A-Rod wants to give me. So, that's going to be my workload.
What have been kind of the things you've worked on to get ready for fall camp and kind of get back to where you were last year?
Yeah, just getting my shoulder back, and then as well as just trying to be better all around, just speed, strength, and just also being smarter.
What's this team's level of motivation like, and could you feel it even on day one of camp?
Yeah, I think we're real motivated. I think we're really excited to be out here. I think we're having a great time, and you see all the guys out here. We're all enjoying just being back out here competing with each other. So I think we're really excited to play football again.
Multiple of your teammates have said that you are the best tailback in the country. That comes from your quarterback. How do you take that?
Yeah, everyone has their own best tailback, and if I'm there, it's cool. If not, I'll just have to go out there and show it. So, that's, anyone's goal. You always want to be the best. If not, then why you play? So, I'm out here trying to be the best and just keep going.
With so many returning faces in this offense, what's going to be different this year, you think? What are going to be some of the characteristics that are maybe different or elements to this offense in 2026?
Yeah, I think we're going to be able to throw the ball. We threw the ball well last year, but I think it's going to be a lot better this year. We got a lot of targets coming back, and we added a lot of targets too. So I'm really excited. We got a lot of guys with a lot of ability out there. So just getting familiar right now, and and then game one we'll have to go out there and showcase it.
Any plays that stood out to you from your vantage point for the offense that caught your attention that you can share with us?
One of our receivers caught a touchdown deep down there, so I was really excited for that. And so there was that.
Who was it?
I believe it was Jared Esplin. So he's a receiver. He came over last fall, and he had a good showing, and he's been doing good spring, good during workouts, and I'm excited for him.
How much better can Byrd be after a full offseason actually being here?
Yeah, he could be a lot better. Just going from high school to college, it's a whole nother jump. So he's I feel like he's gotten a lot better already, and I feel like he could take even a bigger step just, being in a college offseason and just getting used to things.
What specifically have you seen from him that's maybe different from last season?
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference is, he's just a lot familiar with the playbook, and he just knows where he's going. I feel like a lot of stuff pre-snap he's already knowing what's going on, so I just think he got a lot better in that area.
LJ, the offensive line has big expectations this year. A lot of people saying good stuff about them. What do you see specifically where you think that they're going to be good this year?
Yeah, they just based off what they did last year, they did really well last year, and just today in practice they were opening holes. They were doing a great job today in practice, so I'm really excited to see what they could do in games.
There you go. That's LJ Martin, another player kind of hoping to improve his draft stock coming in, and I think it's pretty safe to say that he's the best running back in the Big 12. I know Texas Tech's guy that missed last year with injury. A lot of expectations there, but you bring up the offensive player of the year. I think everybody knows the talent that LJ Martin brings.
That speaks for itself. And having him back, I think, is massive for the offense, because you look at the running back depth, and I think we talked about this a little bit last week, where he was banged up, right? And there was questions about who came in behind LJ Martin. I think that you look for the depth to take some steps forward, but you can do it comfortably knowing that you have LJ Martin returning, who can lead that backfield and continue to be the strong workhorse that he was last season.
Yeah, and that's going to be key. I think if BYU can figure out the running back depth behind LJ, not necessarily take a little bit off his plate, but, you don't want to have to lean on LJ Martin for 12 games. Mm-hmm. And he's a great player to have out there on the field, and you want to build your offense around him, make no mistake about it. But, you saw the crucial stretch last year where he missed some games and then came back, and he clearly wasn't 100% for a couple more weeks because of that injury. You don't want to have that. You want to have you want to be able to spread the ball around in the backfield a little bit. So I think BYU feels optimistic about that. They sound pretty optimistic about their pass game. But again, I don't think they're going to come in day one of camp and be like, not real confident about our wide receiver room. So that's going to be what I'm watching throughout these next few weeks, is who rises to the top as far as becoming the number one receiver, number one, number two, number three. There's a lot of names involved, but nobody that's really shown anything yet.
No, and they need the players to step up throughout fall camp, and this is what this time of year is for, is to get some of those answers. But I think we'll have a little bit more clarity when it comes to that Utah Tech game coming up to open up the season. And we were talking about it earlier with Arizona week 2. They got to get some answers. They got to get them fast. Yes. I do wonder how big of a role Tiger Bachmeier is going to have. I think it would be really cool to have the Bachmeier to Bachmeier connection. Yep. Still waiting for it. That would be awesome. Still waiting for it. JoJo Phillips, another name we brought up. He's
been part of the rotation. He was supposed to have a big role last year, but he missed a lot of time due to injury. He came back and he really struggled with the dropsies. So hopefully he's got that figured out, because he honestly, I think, has the best chance at being the top dog in this room, but we will see. Legend Glasker, a freshman, could come in and have an impact there because the room is so wide open.
Can't pump him up enough. Buy stock on Legend Glasker. I know he's a true freshman, but everybody's singing his praises, man, and I will too, watching him last year at Lehigh. Phenomenal football player. Can't wait to watch Legend Glasker at the college level.
All right, we're going to hit Utah coming up at 11:05. Coming up next, though, we're going to get into technical fouls, one of our favorite segments every single week. So stick with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for technical fouls. The Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza. That's Alex Napoles. Time to take you through some of the funnier things that happen in sports throughout the week. Alex, I'll start us off here with this one. Keith Hernandez, Mets analyst now. He's a longtime player for them. The MLB trade deadline came and went, and the Mets were sellers at the trade deadline. And Keith, on the call the next day, was trying to make a metaphor about moving on from the players. And let's just say the metaphor didn't come out the way that he intended. So here's that.
Roster over, players gone, 11 newcomers in the minor leagues now, and the Mets get to start the last part of their season with a very different look.
Well, they definitely shuffled, brought in the truck, and took out all the garbage, so to speak. But this is a turnaround for this club. It's a new phase of the Mets broadcast, not the broadcast, but a new phase of this Mets season and Met future. Obviously, Plan A did not work out. It's got a lot of young players here. It's a look to the future.
Like it or not, the broadcast is staying the same.
Took out the garbage.
Took out the garbage and almost dissed himself. He tracked it back.
He did.
He tracked it back, and he stopped himself before he fully went in. But he did diss himself. He has since apologized. He has since apologized for the comments that he made. Says that was a poor choice of words. I can't believe that word came out of my mouth. So my apologies. Keith Hernandez posted that on Twitter.
You're telling me. That was a poor choice of words. If I were one of those Mets players, I'd be trying to fight him. I'd be like, are you serious? That's what you have to say about me?
Yeah, and, I like the play-by-play guy at the end of it, too, saying that the broadcast team isn't going to change. But, you keep making comments like that, and you very well could be part of the decision, part of the decision.
You're going to be the garbage that's taken out next time.
I didn't want to say it, but yes.
We had another funny one this week. Kevin Durant taking to social media. Sometimes, it's like, Kevin, you got to put the phone down. But I think he went on a heater this week a little bit. Basically, there was some conversation about, and we even kind of brought it up, right? I think one of us compared LeBron joining Philly to Kevin Durant joining the Warriors.
Yeah.
It feels like a bandwagon move.
Yep.
And Kevin Durant saw other people making those comparisons, and he said that LeBron joining Philly is even worse. He said it on Instagram. It ain't close. Joel Embiid, MVP recently. Jaylen Brown, recent finals MVP. Tyrese Maxey, all-star in the last 3 years. And we all know what Bron does. Klay Thompson, never an MVP candidate and nothing. 22 points per game. Klay Thompson since responded and said, man, why'd you have to use my full government name?
Why are you going after Klay, man? Why is Klay catching strays in all this,
Do you think that Kevin Durant has a point?
To LeBron joining the 76ers?
Do you think LeBron joining Philly is more egregious than Kevin Durant joining the Warriors?
No, I put it on the same category.
You'd put it on the same category?
I'd put it on the same category in the fact that, KD, when he made that move to the Warriors, you knew exactly why he made that move. He was joining a team who had already won championships. He was joining a team who was clearly positioned to win a championship. And when he moved to the Warriors, when he moved to the Warriors, he ended up winning a championship with them. There is this famous viral TikTok sound that I'm sure you've heard, Christian. that it's a bunch of guys sitting at a table in front of microphones, and they're talking about Kevin Durant and not being legendary. Stop calling that man legendary. It's a super viral sound, and that is exactly what it is, because he joined KD, he joined the Warriors to win the championship, and that's exactly how I see it.
Honestly, that's why I would still say that was worse than LeBron joining Philly. I mean, because at this point,
the
LeBron
only difference is that the Philadelphia 76ers have yet to win the championship.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And LeBron's 41 years old, 42 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
He's past his prime. Kevin Durant was in his prime. At that time, Kevin Durant was seen as one of the best players in the NBA, joining
a super team,
one of the best players in the NBA that had already won a title.
Right.
And then they win 2 more after that with KD. So that's why I'd say it's worse. I mean, you look at Philly, and yeah, Tyrese Maxey, all-star, cool. Joel Embiid was an MVP 3 years ago, has played like 5 games since then. Jaylen Brown was very good in Boston, but honestly, he's kind of a basket case, and that's where I can't wait to see how this plays out in Philly, because I think it's a pretty clunky roster. I think there are a lot of egos. I'd be surprised if the 76ers win a title.
Yeah.
So that's why I think Kevin Durant is honestly in the wrong here. What he did was way worse.
I'd still put it, again, kind of in the same category, except the championships, right? The only thing that's different of this whole scenario is the fact that Philadelphia has yet to win that championship.
All right.
And KD would just join a team who was either coming off or
they had just won,
just won a championship,
yeah.
or whenever it was. But to your point, I do agree that right now there is a lot of egos in that Philadelphia 76ers locker room, and that is why I don't know if this is going to work for Philly.
We will see.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Father Time. Okay, Alex, let's take a break. Coming up next, let's get into Utah Sound. Earlier this hour, we heard a lot from BYU. We heard from Kalani Sitake. We heard from Isaiah Glasker and LJ Martin. Coming up next, we're going to hear from Morgan Scalley, the new head honcho at the U, taking over after, 21 years from Kyle Whittingham. It's weird to have a new head coach up there in the red, but Morgan Scalley is the guy. I loved hearing his comments earlier in the week, so we're going to get to that next. Stick with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back into the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles, taking you through week 1 of fall camp here locally in the state of Utah. We brought up earlier all 3 teams going underway. It was a bit of a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday sort of thing. So a lot of content finally this week. And, of course, anything you miss, you can always find at kslsports.com under the podcast page. You can hear from anybody under the sun. I mean, BYU had a ton of people available this week, including Kalani Sitake, LJ Martin, Isaiah Glasker. Utah, we're going to hear from Morgan Scalley here coming up in just a second. We're also going to hear from Kevin McGiven, but they had, I think, basically all of their assistant coaches available at some point throughout the week. So we got a ton of Utah Sound in this first week. So again, if you missed any of that, you want to get your fix, go check it out at kslsports.com. But of course, Alex, the big conversation this year with the Utes is how are they going to look with a new head coach? And that's not something that Utah has had to get used to very often. I mean, in our lifetime, it's been Urban Meyer, Kyle Whittingham, and now Morgan Scalley.
Yes.
So this is pretty crazy. But Morgan being the internal guy, the one that was the coach in waiting, I think that eases a lot of concern.
Absolutely. Eases a lot of concern. You had Morgan Scalley preparing and getting ready for this opportunity. Now that it's here, we'll look at the schedule here in a moment, but I think the schedule is set up in a way nicely for Utah to be able to kind of build up and get to the point where they can, attack the latter part of the season where they have the bigger matchups, I would say, then, kind of ramping up to that point and getting ready through some good tests early on. But the schedule shapes up nicely for year 1 under Morgan Scalley.
At least the first few weeks, right?
Yes.
You open the season at home against Idaho, Arkansas, and Utah State. 3 home games in a row. First road game is at Iowa State. They're going to be terrible. You're also at home versus Kansas, and then you're at Colorado. They're going to be terrible. And then that's when the switch flips, right? You're going to go at home against Houston, at Cincinnati, at home against BYU, at Arizona, at TCU, and at West Virginia to close out the year. But that kind of latter half of the schedule could get tough really quick.
November's brutal.
Yeah, that's why you got to hope that throughout the first half of the season, Utah takes care of business. And as you mentioned, kind of tunes up quickly.
Mm-hmm. November's going to be a fun month for the University of Utah, right? You start off the month with BYU, that big test, the rivalry game. Then you head on the road to Tucson to take on Arizona. Then you head on the road to take on TCU. You wrap it up with West Virginia. So just that 3-week stretch alone is going to be what, in my eyes, defines the season for the University of Utah this year.
I'd honestly extend it to the 2 weeks before that, at home against Houston and then at Cincinnati.
Those are two,
at the latter part of October.
Those are games that you obviously don't want to overlook, and you don't want to take lightly. I don't know if Cincinnati is going to be as the trajectory that they were on last season. Maybe they do bring in a good solid quarterback to replace Brendan Sorsby, and they can still pick up where they left off. I'm still on the fence of where Cincinnati's at, so maybe you have a little bit of a dip there where you can you go from a massive test in Houston to maybe a little bit of dip in Cincinnati, and then you get to that 3-week stretch. But absolutely, to your point, you can't overlook the Houston and the Cincinnati game either.
And who knows, maybe Houston's not that good. I think you were kind of on the Houston train last year. I didn't really believe in them just because they had such a soft schedule. They didn't play anybody tough in the conference, so their record looked really good at the end of the year. But this year, they finally got some tough matchups. We'll have a much better idea of where Houston sits among the Big 12. But right now, everybody has them, top 5 in the conference. So that could very well be a tough game. Again, that is at home, though, for Utah. But you mentioned November, man, and it all starts with that BYU game and then back-to-back road games.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. Against teams who are in contention.
Yeah.
It's not just the fact that they are road games. It's road games against teams. We talked about it a little bit with the BYU hour, but Arizona and TCU, 2 teams who I think everybody nationally has contending for this conference, and so tough November coming up for Utah.
But again, you mentioned that they have kind of I don't want to say soft first half of the season, but that's a good time for a good ramp up, right? It's a good opportunity for this team and Morgan Scalley and everybody to just gel and get used to all of the change, because there is a lot of change at the head coach, at the offensive coordinator. Then you bring in the new defensive coordinator as well to replace Morgan Scalley. So where does this team find themselves at the midway point? How good have they become? That's what we'll figure out. But I do believe in Devon Dampier's ability to lead this new offense with McGiven. It sounds like it's the same but different compared to last year's offense. A lot of it is really similar, but there are going to be some changes.
And one of those changes, and one of the things that really stood out to me, was from Devon Dampier's media availability to open up fall camp. And QB1 stands up in front of the reporters and essentially talks about the freedom that Kevin McGiven is giving him in this offense, and the freedom he has to, if he sees something, the freedom he has to check into something else, right? A different look and a different a different play, whatever the case might be. But it sounds like the reins, whatever reign he had last season under Jason Beck, he kept using the word freedom, and so I'm curious to see what that freedom looks like for Devon Dampier.
It is pretty telling, when he comes and he's having this new relationship with a new coach and he's saying it without saying it about what things looked like last year. And I get that there were a lot of restrictions physically with Dampier because of his injuries.
And that probably played a part into it too.
But you look at Dampier and having played with Jason Beck at New Mexico already, they should have had a smoother relationship than what it's maybe sounding like. Mm-hmm. And, you got to give credit to Dampier. Like, he hasn't thrown Beck under the bus by any means, but he's just kind of thrown little hints here and there. Like, he maybe wasn't all that happy with the way the offense was ran last year. So by him coming out and saying that he's loving this freedom that he's having with Kevin McGiven, I think that's pretty telling. It's telling of what the offense is going to be like, and it's telling of obviously Dampier's feelings both towards this year and next year. So we'll hear from Devon Dampier in a second. I do want to start off with Morgan Scalley because he is the big storyline. So let's listen to Morgan first, and then we'll hear from Devon Dampier coming up in about 10 minutes. So here is the new man up on the hill. This is Morgan Scalley.
All right, Coach Scalley, how you feeling? How are things looking? Day one, take me through.
Excited to be back. Ton of progress in spring. I love what I'm seeing in terms of the energy, the body compositions from the summer lifting and conditioning. Good first day, 12 periods, really not grueling, just trying to knock off the cobwebs a little bit. But excited to have these guys back.
Morgan, in this transfer portal NIL era, it's rare to have two starting the quarterbacks sharing the room, but you have that with Devon and Byrd. What about them makes them coexist in this offense and on this team?
Well, I think the reason for it is they're unselfish. Both of them embrace their role. Both of them are very competitive and understand that their number can be called at any time. It also allows for us to be a little bit creative and do some things with their skill sets that can cause issues with defenses. But they're unselfish young men who are all about the team, and that's a rare combination at that position. So very blessed to have those two.
With the new 2022 ruling from the kids that can come play, are you going to explore anything like that, or is your team solid?
We will explore anything that we feel gives us an advantage and can help us win football games.
How many roster spots do you have to explore, depending on how many players are available?
For us to know, and you'd find out. No, there is maybe some wiggle room for one or two guys, is my guess.
How do we find that out?
Well, you can talk to each other. You're smart guys.
What positions do you think are the most competitive right now?
Safety is definitely one of the most competitive positions. Linebacker, wide receiver is probably where we have the most depth.
You talked a lot about offensive line back in the spring and how May was going to be massive for their development this fall. How did the offseason go for those guys up front?
Really good, but we don't have pads on. So, when we start to hit each other and tackle and all that stuff, that's when I'll really have a good understanding. Already from day one, I can tell they've worked their butts off during the offseason. It's a lot crisper, cleaner, faster to the line of scrimmage. There's a lot of things that you can tell, okay, they've spent a ton of time together.
Devon talked a lot about this offseason just getting better as a passer, pre-snap adjustments. Now that he's had an off-season in spring, what have you seen from him just early on in terms of?
Yeah, so far so good. Like I said, the speed at which they started to execute on day one, much better than what we saw even near maybe the mid to end of spring. So the player-led practices were a huge bonus. And I think, if the new bill passes, you're going to see that, you can have mandatory practices during that summertime, so that just gives us another opportunity to continue to improve what we did in spring.
Morgan, how are you feeling about the state of the defensive line group?
Much like the offensive line, we got to hold off judgment until we get some pads on. But that's one group you can tell has a chip on their shoulder. If you're walking through the facility and there's guys in the position room watching film, it's the D-line. They are very aware of the guys that we lost and the pressure on them. They're up to the challenge. I'm excited for that group.
Off the bat, day one, any natural-born leaders that are standing out to you? That we don't already?
Oh, man. No, we won't vote for leadership and captains until before the first game. Okay. But, some of the guys that were already on leadership council, showed up today. And then, again, just because you're on a leadership council doesn't mean you're a leader. You can not be on a leadership council and still be a leader. Leadership is influence based on trust you've earned, and so we've had a lot of guys that have been here a number of years and earned that trust to influence others to come along. So I'm pleased with the whole group, but we'll have to wait to see.
You've had spring ball.
Yes.
But today, first official day, how different was it for you?
It's just I'm not coaching a position group, so I'm not so much worried about, because I believe that in Coach McGiven and Coach Swan that the schemes are going to be what they need to be. My whole focus is on how we're doing it, and are we running to the ball? Are we living our culture? It's the behavior that I'm after, and probably not good enough today in terms of hustle, being relentless to the ball, relentless jogging off the field. This game requires a lot and a lot of discipline, and if we're not holding them accountable, then the culture presents itself in a way that you're not happy with. So, not good enough today in that aspect. But the only difference for me is I'm much more looking at every position group and where can we fill holes and where can we improve, as opposed to coaching a side of the ball or a position group.
Now that you've had the spring and summer with Coach McGiven, what sticks out most about his offense?
He is going to identify our playmakers and get them the ball. He understands that we have to establish the line of scrimmage, we have to establish a physical brand of football, but he's also really good at, here are my playmakers, here's how we're going to get them the ball. Not, here's my scheme, you have to fit inside of it. It's, who do we have and how can I really accentuate them? How can I highlight them and their skill set?
How similar will the offense look to fans? I mean, forget all the terminology and all that.
I guess it probably very similar. Yeah, probably similar. You have formation of the boundary stuff. You have shifts, motions, the quarterback run game. And that's a big reason why Devon and Byrd, wanted to stay is because it was very similar, and there'll be some added wrinkles, obviously, but yeah, I would say to the average fan, you're sitting there going, okay, this looks similar to what we saw last year.
Defensively, how much wiggle room does Colton Swan have to explore schematic changes and that sort of stuff?
Oh yeah, it's his defense. I wanted that as a defensive coordinator. Kyle gave that to me. Now we are who we are, and we have a mutual understanding of what we want to do here, but there's certain things that they're going to do, and they'll ask my opinion on it, but I want him to have all the freedom to be him, to not feel like someone's looking over his shoulder or second guessing what he's doing. I'm there to support him. Okay, thanks everyone, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, there is head coach Morgan Scalley talking about all the change that he has had over the last few months, finding himself as the man. One of the things I do really like, though, is talking about his relationship with the defensive coordinator, Colton Swan, because that was a role that Scalley himself had for the last few years. And he's basically letting Swan come in and do whatever he wants with his defense. Mm-hmm. And, of course, there's a reason that Swan gets the job, because they trust him. But it's not like Morgan Scalley is going to come in and say, oh, this is how I was doing it. You've got to keep doing the same thing.
Yeah. No, it sounds like, having that relationship with Colton Swan throughout the course of the last couple of years, he has that confidence and he has that faith in Swan to kind of make that defense his own and align it with the same beliefs and the same mentality and the same thoughts that Morgan Scalley had as a defensive coordinator. Now what really sticks out to me is the fact that you kind of hear it from Morgan and his want to now have his own stamp and his own imprint on both sides of the ball. And so I think there's going to be an emphasis too on bringing the RSNB mentality over to the offensive side as well. Not that it didn't have it before, but now Morgan Scalley has that freedom to kind of put his own stamp on the offensive side as well too. And that's something that stuck out to me from the conversations of Morgan and some of the players this week.
Kyle Whittingham would always say that one of his favorite games that he's ever coached was like a 3-0 game. I don't remember the team or the specific game, but the final score was like 3-0.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be Morgan Scalley.
No, absolutely not.
Morgan understands that you need some fireworks.
Yes, and it's a conversation you've heard it the last couple of years with the committee and the style points, and it sounds like Morgan Scalley too recognizes that the committee values that. And so maybe you see Utah try to put some more style on their game this year.
Speaking of style, nobody does it better than Devon Dampier, the quarterback, the guy, under center for the Utes. Let's listen to what he had to say, because we brought this up earlier. He kind of made some interesting comments about this new look, same look offense that Kevin McGiven's going to bring. So here's Devon Dampier.
All right, let's start. How you feeling? Day one, take us through.
Man, I feel great, honestly. I thought our team, we've been working hard without the coaches here a lot, building culture without them. So, for finally the coaches to be back and, see how far we've come together as a team, first practice, I thought it went well.
How comfortable are you with Coach McGiven's schemes and the offense as a team now?
Yeah, very comfortable. Mac G, he tells me all the time, he wants to dedicate this offense to the way he feels I do best. And for us to just keep having conversations, we have days where we can get better. We have days where, we take the good out of the practice and, we just keep elevating the offense from there. So I'm happy that he respects my talents and what I can do so we can thrive as an offense.
How was the offseason like for the offensive line?
Man, a very time for them to mentally get stronger and just more explosive. There's a lot of days, Coach Saunders makes our workouts very orientated to the position, and you can tell those offensive linemen, a lot of them lost about 5-10 pounds of fat and then also gained like 10-15 pounds of muscle. So for them to have that transformation just in the summer, man, now they get to showcase it out here and be at their best.
Where do you feel like you're at just in terms of some of the improvements you made this offseason, and how are you excited to implement them here in fall?
Yeah, I think a lot of this offseason was me getting together with the receivers. We brought in so many new guys, so they all have their own little spin to their own routes and how they see things on the field. So to get on the same page, that was something that was brought to my attention I needed to do during the offseason. So I thought we came out here and, we're able to showcase that.
How often did you guys get together, just with you and the receivers?
Yeah, there would be days where we had a harder workout, so I'd let them be stationary, just more tracking, more things like that. And the days we did less running, we got more into routes, we got more into putting out coverages in our head. The other receivers would be out there being defenders, and we would just try to implement the field how it would look on the field. So yeah, that's kind of how we went about it.
How much of the offseason are you watching film with you and Byrd and the coaches?
Yeah, offseason, it's a little bit. It'll ramp up when, we get closer to the weeks of looking at our opponents. I feel like we watched a lot of film during spring. We watch it out by ourselves. We watch it with the coach when he comes in. So there's a lot that we've already learned from the spring. So summer's just a time to literally work on the body. It's time to you have that time set aside from film to get your body right. So this is when film digs into that process.
How much do you have to just kind of mentally reset in terms of not worrying about the football, just kind of giving yourself a break so that this doesn't become a chore in some respects? Does that make sense?
I love football. At the end of the day, everyone out here, we love football. We all signed up for this. I've never heard of an easy fall camp, so, we kind of know what to expect when we're here. And, we just go about it where you love each other. We're such a bonded team that, like, being out here is fun. It's not taxing. It doesn't feel like we're being forced to be dragged out here. Everyone in this building knows that we got big plans ahead. We just talked about it yesterday, how we want to win a Big 12 championship. So just with that thought process, we got to do it every day.
What's it like sharing the quarterback room with Byrd and having somebody like him in the offense?
Man, Byrd is great, honestly. I think the biggest thing I take away, obviously we're best friends outside of this, but especially during football, he's a very talented player. So, I go out there, I do 4 plays, I think I did good, then Byrd goes out there, he throws a touchdown. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to answer back. And then, we just keep elevating each other where, eventually when he takes over, he's going to be that guy. And, he's also pushing me to be the guy right now. So it's very mutual always around.
How are you feeling about this receiver room going into fall?
Man, very exciting. If you can tell, I think every receiver probably caught the ball today just because of we have so many weapons, you know what I mean? We have so many people that can get open. We can put them in different places. So, it shows on the field that so many receivers caught the ball today, so many different ones. So, shout out on their part.
Coach McGiven talked about offensive balance being about spreading the ball around 2 players rather than just 50% pass, 50% run. How have you sort of embraced that mindset of getting everybody involved as best you can?
Yeah, I think that's the best way for an offense to roll. Be what the defense is giving us. If the defense wants us to pass the ball more, we'll do that. If the defense wants us to run the ball, we'll do that. And that's just kind of where our offense comes from. We take advantage of what the defense gives us. And, McGiven trusts me so much with the offense. He gives me the ability to, go get into a different play, get into things that we run very well. So just to have that aspect, it makes me very confident going into any game that we have the game plan to, do what it takes to win.
Speaking of confidence, do you walk a little bit different now that you've been around here? You're kind of feeling good in the red. I mean, just take me through being under center as QB1.
Yeah, I think, one, coming back to Utah after, everything that went on, and just being so welcoming for one, my coaches meeting me in the airport. Just starting from there, that builds a lot of respect to me and a lot of loyalty. So, yeah, I do see my teammates looking at me when things get bad and also when things are well. So I prefer to stay at the top of my levels, make sure I'm the same guy, very consistent every single time. And, that's just how I embrace my role.
There you go. That is Devon Dampier, the quarterback, talking about some of the free reign that he has in this offense. But he's excited to be back. You can hear it in his voice. We saw the video. Of course, you can see it on the video. But you can hear. And he's just he's a happy-go-lucky guy. I mean, he's a very energetic guy, great leader. Can't wait to see what Spider-Man does.
Always smiling ear to ear, man. I think that's great for your quarterback.
There you go. Let's take a quick break, Alex, and then coming up next on the other side, we have talked about a lot of the change on the offense. Let's hear from the new offensive coordinator, Kevin McGiven. We'll do that next. Stick with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Class is now in session, and the UPS Store is here to help you ace arriving on campus. Our certified packing experts can pack everything you need, from desktops to decor. Plus, when you pack and ship with us, you get our exclusive pack and ship guarantee. Your items arrive safe or your money back. Restrictions and limitations apply. To get a 20% off packing coupon and for full details, visit theupsstore.com/packing.
You're listening to this podcast, so you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
That's the sound of Lego Pikachu training for battle. That's the sound of Lego Pikachu enjoying a post-training snack. And that's a reminder to not let Lego Pokemon in the recording studio. Lego Smart Brick brings Lego Pokemon play to life. Lego Pokemon with Smart Play. You're the trainer now.
Welcome into the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles, thank you for making us a part of your weekend. Running a bit close on time. I want to hear everything that Kevin McGiven has to say. So real quick, let's jump right into this and then kind of get some reaction afterwards. So here is the new offensive coordinator at the University of Utah, Kevin McGiven, speaking to the media for the first time during fall camp.
Morgan has talked about how you fit your offense to the personnel. As you kind of surveyed this team, what do you feel like the strength of this team is and where you want to design your offense around?
I think always first and foremost I look at the skill set of the quarterbacks, and so designing things that we feel like Devon can handle, that he can do well. Obviously integrating Byrd into that, and what that package looks like for him, and what the volume looks like for him. And so I'm always going to look at those two components first. With the skill guys, a lot of different pieces there. So I think we can kind of mix and match some things, but utilizing two backs and what their different skill sets are, especially with Wayshawn and Daniel Bray, they both bring some different elements and different skill sets where you can utilize them in different ways than other than just ball carriers. And then trying to look at the versatility of the wide receivers as well. There's, sometimes those guys are just wideouts, but there's guys that that you can put into a little bit different roles sometimes as well with the wideout groups, and still trying to formulate that to its fullest extent, but starting to get a better understanding now.
Coach, Dev shared on Monday that he'll have the ability to kind of change things at the line of scrimmage, pretty simple stuff. But what has he done to earn your trust in doing that, and how do you kind of help develop that in him to make sure he's making the right decisions?
Yeah, just kind of always a slow process with that, just making sure that he has command of the offense, and so as you go throughout spring, you just kind of integrate little things here and there. He's already exhibited, even in the 2 practices we've had up to this point, much better command of what's going on, and so he did some things in practice yesterday with some protection checks that were not anything that he did in the spring, and so he directed some things to handle some pressures in defense, and so we're giving him the keys to the car in that element. There's some different things on the perimeter with looks that he sees where he can get himself into the best situation based on the look that he's getting with route concepts and things like that, and so as we go and as he exhibits that command, we kind of put more on his plate in terms of taking control.
Last year, Devon said last year was probably the most banged up he's ever been in his career. I mean, had a multitude of injuries, but now he's fully back healthy. This is kind of a 2-part question, so if you need me to rephrase it.
No, it's good.
First, just how has his mentality kind of evolved over through the spring, coming off multiple injuries? And 2, knowing how banged up he got last year, have you kind of catered the offense to kind of put him out of harm's way, given, you have a plethora of receivers to go to now? How has that changed at all, if anything?
Yeah, I think my mindset-wise, I haven't really seen much of a shift from spring to now, other than he just looks and he's moving, like he's healthy, but he's attacked all the practices. There hasn't been anything where he's really tried to hold back, or that you could see that he was still pushing through after the surgery in the off season and things like that. We tried to manage that in the spring as much as possible, and that, now being full go, you can definitely see the comfort level just in when he gets out and he's on the perimeter and he opens up, then it looks like a little bit different Dev than it did in the spring. What was the second part? Sorry.
Just given how banged up he was last year, and now that the offense has so many weapons on the perimeter, does that change maybe run heavy versus maybe pass heavy?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say the run pass ratio. That can always change from week to week based on how you're trying to attack an opponent. But I think given the fact that we have weapons out there that we want to feature, then that could shift a little bit of the focus. I think what we tried to focus on in just with his development, knowing what he can do, has pushed him into that realm a little bit more, and then always sensitive to to how many hits the quarterback is going to take, whether it's how we're constructing our protection or what we're doing with him in the run game, and then also knowing how much he just creates on his own. And so, that's something we're going to have to manage. We're going to want to utilize his feet. We're going to want to create numbers in the run game, the advantage that you can have when you involve some quarterback run game. I don't think we want to take that element of the offense away, but in terms of the hits and the types of hits that he's taking, definitely want to manage that.
Over the summer, Devon took the wide receivers down to Arizona with him to train. What have you seen from him as his growth in terms of the leadership, but also just what does that do with the connection with him and the receivers and what you're trying to build? And is that something that is common for a quarterback to take it to that level in the offseason?
They're always going to. I think guys are always going to put in work in the off season, going to the extent where you take them down to Arizona and do something like that. Maybe not to that extent, but he is. I think by Coach Scalley, myself, with Coach Gunderson, we've tried to push him into that leadership role, and guys are reacting to him, because of the type of player he is, and so he has influence that way. But just using his voice, a little bit more influence, and then creating that connection, creating that chemistry. The chemistry is something that we're trying to build on a day-to-day basis with the team and the offense in its entirety. But he's been more vocal, and you can tell that there has been a connection that is starting to be established, or getting established with the work that they put in the off season, and that manifests itself in practice the last couple of days. Also, there were, like I said before, he has the ability to change some things. Well, and I want them to take ownership of the offense. I want them to kind of put their flavor on it. But he gave the receivers a check that we never talked about. So that was talked about sometime in their offseason training when they were together. And he saw something, and the receivers reacted to the check, and he threw a big play off of it, because of what he saw in attacking the coverage. And so, I just kind of looked over at Gundy and said, I don't know what you're teaching these guys, but that was kind of cool.
From the end of spring to now, where would you say the offense has made the biggest jump?
I just think I think from a cultural standpoint, there's a way we want it to look. There's an effort that they're giving on a down by down basis. That is something that has been established with the defense, prior to this year with Coach Scalley, that he wanted to carry over and make it a team mentality in terms of the culture. And so we were really trying to push that. That was really coach driven in the spring, just getting that to show up on a play-by-play basis in terms of the consistency that we want. And so that is showing up way faster than it did in the spring. And so that culture piece of it is carried over. And then, in the first 2 days, two installs, and the first install kind of vanilla. And then we went from 0 to 100 in the second install with all the things that we're doing. But in the spring, that came as kind of a shock to him. Didn't handle it real well. There was, just the level of focus it took to execute that install. Yesterday, it was like clockwork. I mean, the way that they ripped through that thing, and there's always a lot of details, but how clean it looked from an operational standpoint was pretty impressive, the way they carried that over.
How do you feel like Byrd's development, particularly as a passer, has been going so far this year?
Yeah, really well. We've pushed both him and Dev kind of the same way. In terms of becoming elite decision makers and having elite processing skills and being able to apply concepts to coverage, defensive looks, things like that. And so I would say Byrd has made incremental progress, and again, early on in fall camp, that development through the spring is already showing up. And, and I think where, some of the tight windows that you would say, quarterbacks are being a little bit risky, but as long as it's calculated risk, there's been some ball placement in the first couple of practices where, you can tell he's much more comfortable ripping that in there because he knows what he's seeing and it's not so reactive.
There you go. That is Utah offensive coordinator Kevin McGiven.
I think, you kind of have an idea of what you're going to get defensively because of the carryover in Colton Swan, similar to the conversations you hear about Kelly Papinga, right? He worked under Jay Hill. He knows what that defense is about. I see a similar thing when it comes to Colton Swan, right? I think and you kind of have that idea of what you're going to get out of that Utah defense. All the questions for me is on the offense. You hear that the schemes are really similar, and there's not too much change from what Jason Beck was doing, but it is still somebody coming in from the outside, right? Somebody who wasn't a part of that of this team last season, and McGiven, I'm sure, has his own a different scheme and different ideas and different things of different thinking of things that he wants to do with Devon Dampier. And so I do have questions and I do have curiosity of where this offense lands. So it is great to hear from Kevin McGiven and kind of get his idea and his takes to where this offense is for Utah.
And, of course, right now we just have the outsider's perspective looking in because we haven't been able to see anything. But from everything we've heard throughout this week, from everything we heard at Big 12 Media Days, you mentioned a lot of similarities as far as the terminology and stuff like that. I think it's going to be more of a philosophical change, right? Not as much about, quote-unquote, protecting the defense. I think they're still going to be able to run the football, but I don't think that is going to be all that they want to do. I am interested to see how much they try and air it out and let Devon Dampier cook.
That's something that that's something I think everybody has their eyes on. And of course, you have to take into consideration the turnover in the offensive line, and how much does that drop off from where it was last season, right? It's never going to be easy to replace that much experience on your offensive line. It's never going to be easy to replace 2 first-round NFL draft picks that were on that offensive line last season. And the guys that played such an important part of what made Utah one of the best rushing teams in the entire country last season. But if you can get anywhere near the semblance of production you saw from Wayshawn Parker last season, even Devon Dampier when he tucked and played hero ball, this Utah run offense, the run game, right, as they call it, I don't expect it to drop off as much as I think nationally people think it will.
No, I'm excited to see. I think it's going to be a much more balanced approach.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be in the top 3 as it was last season, right, in the country, but I do definitely think that this run game for Utah still is amongst the best in the Big 12.
I'm excited to see what this Utah team does because we talk about the expectations placed on BYU. I think the more that people look at this Utah team, even with all of the change, all of the turnover, losing a lot of their best players to Michigan, I think the expectations are almost just as high for the Utes. I think they have the capability to reach the Big 12 championship. So, of course, a lot of football left to be played, but man, it's looking good for both schools going into the season.
Absolutely. And I cannot wait. We're almost there, Christian. We're getting closer.
There. All right, let's take a break. Coming up next, we will wrap this baby up. It's another edition of the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Wrapping up another week on the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles. Busy week. We didn't have a ton of time to talk about really everything else that happened this week. Some news that we'll save for next week. NFL preseason has started. We'll talk more about the College Sports Act and what happened with that. Kind of got to save that for next week because this week was so busy with fall camp stuff.
Absolutely, and I think that's the awesome part of the fall camp, and that's the awesome part of getting to this point of the season, getting this to this point of the year, right? There's so much sound, there's so much media availability, there's so much things that you can hear from the actual teams and the actual players themselves, and so we hope you, the listener, enjoyed listening to, of course, the Kalani Sitake, Morgan Scalley, everybody that we played today.
And again, if you missed any of it, check us out at kslsports.com/podcast. You can miss any part of the Saturday show or any of the media availability from your favorite team, whether you are a BYU fan, a Utah fan, go check it out because there's always a bunch of good, juicy sound. Here on the station, here's what the schedule looks like for the rest of the day. Coming up at 1:30, it's the Utah Royals pre-match show as they get ready to take on Denver. At Denver, first kick there is at 2. That will be on both signals, 97.5 and 1280. And then coming up in the afternoon, the Bees, 6:20 first pitch. They are going to be at home. And then RSL pre-match show, that starts at 7. That will take over the 97.5 signal as RSL gets ready to take on Atlante as part of the League's Cup. So RSL on 97.5 and Bees on 1280 tonight. That's going to do it for us this week. Thank you to Alex sitting next to me. Thank you to Parker behind the glass. We'll catch you next week. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
PNC Bank brings you Call of the Wild Money Moves. Shh. Listen.
Hey, guys.
That's the sound of a multi-level marketing pitch.
This is life-changing, you guys.
Sounds like she wants you to buy lots of essential oils.
They are so essential.
And then have all your friends buy essential oils.
Are you more of a geranium or lavender fan?
Don't look her in the eyes. Guard against wild money moves with PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865.
As a small business owner, sometimes it feels like no matter how much planning you do, there's always surprises. Like an urgent, expensive repair. But here's a surprise you'll like. With Progressive, small business owners save 10% or more on their commercial auto insurance when they pay in full. So enjoy a surprise for once. Get a quote in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.